Okay, so this is another project that I did, and I was down at the IT recycling centre, and this had turned up, and the guy didn't know what it was, and he said to me, do you know what it is, and do you want it? And I was like, I know what that is. That's an SGI Silicon Graphics Octane workstation, and these things were high-end uh, computers back in the 1990s, and when I was at school, these things were objects of desire. I mean, they would cost about 10,000, 20,000 for a fully spec'd up one, and they were used in movies and the TV, and they were capable of 3D graphics that were just blew everyone's mind back then. And I said, I'll definitely take it, but it didn't work. It was broken. So I thought to myself, well, you know, we can this thing can be reborn in a modern age. So I'm going to show you what I did. So I'll just take you around what I did with the Octane. So essentially, I turned it into a PC, and I took out all the internal structure from the case. It was totally non-standard. It was a really bizarre setup, actually, and I measured it and just realised like you can just about get a micro ATX motherboard in it. And so I'm just going to show you how I managed to fit that in. Right, I'm just going to take the back out, and then I'll get back to you in a second. Right, so this should give you an idea of how I got a PC in it. Essentially, here I just took everything out of the internally from it, and I built this wooden frame, and I cut a hole here, ventilation hole, and then you've got ventilation coming through these things, these ducts at the top, and then I built this kind of sub frame, and what I did was I cut up an old PC case, and you've got the power supply, I/O, 120mm fan, and your graphics card down there, and you can see here that you can fit in, so power supply, CPU, RAM, graphics card in there, if you can see it. See if I can move the light on there. Yeah, graphics card in there, and I managed to get 2 hard drives in there with this thing that I took out of another case, and that is how I basically fitted the PC into it. And a fan speed controller here just to quieten everything down. So let's show you, I'm going to show you how you slot this in. So hold on. So one of the things I really like about this case is the way that you turn it on, and I needed to create some modification here, and you'll see it in a minute. Essentially, I've just run a blue LED, and then over this side a red LED, and the blue LED goes into the power LED on the motherboard, and the red one goes into the hard drive activity LED on the motherboard. So turn it on, open that, and then there's this. Now this isn't the original button, this was some plastic thing that had broken, and I just drilled it out, and I bought this on eBay. It's like a nice metal on-off switch, which I think is a lot better and is far more robust than what was there before. So let's turn it on. There you go. That's what it looks like in action. Let's turn the light off. So basically, when the hard drive is being accessed, you get like a purple glow on there that I quite like. Right, so there you go. Let's see this thing in action. Right, so to be honest with you, this is another budget build. So when I was down at the recycling place, I picked up an old motherboard, 775 motherboard, and I really wanted a quad-core processor, make sure it was usable, and they were all quite expensive, the ones that I could see, 775. So I started looking around, and I found that actually in this motherboard, with some modification, you could fit in one of these. So I bought this Intel Xeon E5410 off for, I don't know, not a lot, maybe £5, something like that. And what you do is you buy a 771 to 775 adapter. I bought that on eBay. You chop a couple of slots out of the CPU slot. Put the Xeon processor in, socket 771 Xeon. That will fit into the 775 socket with some modification, and then it worked absolutely fine. It booted up first time, but it threw up an unknown CPU error. So I downloaded the BIOS onto a floppy disk, and then there's a procedure which you can find online. You can find it on YouTube as well. And you basically download, and then you inject the Xeon microcode into the BIOS, and then here it picks it up, no problem. And it works fine. I've been using this computer for a few months, and I've had no problems with it whatsoever. So because I'm on a budget, I haven't used Windows, I'm using Linux on this. So we'll boot into Linux, and I'll show you everything working. Okay. Right, so here we are in my current favourite distribution, Mint Mate 17, and I'm just going to open up System Monitor here, and you're going to see that it's quite happily seeing all the processors. They all get a pretty colour each, and here's a little graph of what they're doing. And let's open something up. Let's open up Firefox, and you'll see that the operating system is quite happily using all of the processors in quite a random fashion. Don't really know why, but they are all being used, so that's always good to see. And like I say, it works really well, and it's a really cheap way of getting a quad-core computer. I think the motherboard was maybe £5, the processor was £5, and the RAM not a lot more. This is old, DDR2 RAM, old Xeon processors, and an old motherboard. But with a little bit of tinkering around, you can get a really pretty fast and usable, functional computer. I think that's all I've really got to say about it, to be honest with you. Okay. Right, so there you go. SGI Silicon Graphics Octane gutted, ripped out, and made usable in 2015 with some modifications. So I hope you like that, and I'll try and I've got a few more things I'll try and put up later. Okay, see you later.